Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about Tokyo Revengers Season 1, which was a recommendation by Angel. Thank you, Angel, for the wonderful recommendation. Sorry it took us so long to get to it. But before that, we were talking about online safety and passwords and things like that. And everything else. If you want to catch up part of the wider conversation, go to patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content and more. And of course, all the information and everything like that is available to you on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com, as well as in the show notes. And then we also stream live every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to join us on Twitch at twitch.tv/featuredanimepodcast. All the information and everything like that is available on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com. And don't forget about Tokyo Treats. If you use coupon code featuredanime, you get $5 off that very first box. And we have the affiliate link for you in the show notes, and it helps support us as well. Now on to the meat and brotatoes. Tokyo Revengers came out in April 2021, ran all the way through September 2021. It is 24 episodes long. A couple producers for it are Pony Canyon, ATX, just to name a couple of them. Studio for it is Linden Films. It's based off of a manga. The genres are action, drama, supernatural, and shonen and time travel. And yeah. So basically, you have our main character, Takemichi, who's your standard, not really standard, you're lazy, good for nothing 20-something-year-old man, lives in a complete sty, and he has dirty mags all over the place on in his room. Never really got out of the past, really kind of lives in the past, so to speak, with his first and only girlfriend he ever had. And then he's on his way home after having an issue at the place of business where he worked. He is about to get hit by a train when he is then teleported back 12 years into the past. At that point, during that time frame, he is going through and trying to change certain key events, having to go with his past, with his current knowledge and time frames. Finding out later on, he is able to actually teleport between past and present, while altering the past alters his present world and everything having to do with it. And how he's able to do it is by shaking the hands of his very first girlfriend's brother's hand. Now, one of the key things that is pointed out for this entire series is that the time that passes in the real world in the past also passes in the future. So he is basically in a suspended state during the time frame for this as well. His entire journey is to fix the events in the past, so that way the future is at the best possible outcome for him and everyone around him.
Yeah, that's accurate. Nothing you said was wrong. What I find to be interesting, or not interesting, what I find to be another point of clarity is whatever he changes in the past, it's him in the present. It's his temperament in the present. He was far more bold in the past. His younger self knew no limitation, it seemed. Or at least that's the impression that everyone else has of him. Whereas the older, more timid version of himself seems like he's got just a life of 12 years of just being beat down and thrown to the side and just crumbled. Like, he's got no self-assurances. He's got no backbone. He's got no goals in life. He's surviving barely. And when he gets thrown back to his 12-year-old self, all of his friends are like, "You the man, dude." And he starts to gain a little more confidence, but he still keeps going and reverting to his timid, "I'm so sorry, please don't hurt me," even though that for some reason doesn't work. The "please don't hurt me" part, this dude gets beat more than any protagonist I've ever seen.
It's not that he does the "please don't hurt me." He cries because he's a very emotional, and I can understand where he's coming from in terms of the emotional aspect of it. Like, having been constantly beat down and battered all the way through life, where you just like feel like nothing really matters anymore. And then you get that validation and you get the validity of it, where you're just like, oh yeah. I mean, like for him, it'd be it's an overwhelming emotion to where he can't help but cry. And whether it's like pure sadness or joy, most of the time it's usually he's upset because he just really wants things to change, and he feels like he's getting that sense of life, self-worth back, and he feels like it's starting to slip away. And that's why at certain points he's kind of crying, but he's not really crying, if that makes sense. He's like got the tears going on, but then you also have to understand another thing too. He's probably also, while he may have the mentality of someone that's more mature, you also have to kind of understand that like bro's got the hormones of a 14-year-old again, going back in time, and there ain't nothing changing that.
I mean, when I was 14, I was aggressive. I wasn't crying. But I get what you're saying. There was mood swings.
Right. It's
everyone's
mood
different.
Everyone is different. But
even when he goes back to like his older life, he's still crying out of frustration.
Right.
What I'm saying is, when he was younger, he had more confidence. He wasn't daunted by the world.
Exactly.
And obviously, we all were like, we're all immortal until we get hurt, you know?
Right.
And the thing that frustrates me is he's not a smart MC. He's not.
He's not. It's pointed out several times that he's not. Like that is not surprising at all. It is pointed out several times that he is not smart.
Like it's a major contrast from the last show we watched, where you and I are like, this is the best way to do it. You and I would absolutely do it this way.
Yeah,
like,
but again, it's the differences for the last show is he had someone there that was constantly mentoring him and was saying, hey, this is how you need to do stuff.
Fair enough.
He doesn't have that. He's stumbling and trying to do all this stuff. He's given like minimal amount of information, right? Hey, you have to do this, right? And Nato, here's the other thing. Goal. Yeah, you have a goal. But here's the other thing. Nato, who's Hina's brother, who was his first girlfriend back then, also retains all that information and knows like something changed in between now and then. He doesn't know that like the past doesn't understand that it's the future mentality of Takemichi, but they have that correlation and that's how he's able to travel back in time, is by shaking his hands. It's also how he's able to go back to the future.
Shaking the brother's hand, yeah.
Shaking his hands, right? You have that correlation in between it. But the thing that's different is they only have the information that they, like, we have to try and do this. We have to try and prevent this from happening, right?
And I got to say, that's a really, really busy 12 years ago time for this kid. One absolute train wreck after another. Like,
well, to be fair, right? A lot of those train wrecks, a lot of those things happened because he was going back and interfering, because he was inserting himself into those events and situations. Because
what I mean, I agree that there was a lot of, that was kind of the fun of the show, the train wreck, watching it happen.
Right.
But what I mean is, there were so many key tumultuous events that happened in a short amount of time, where he'd fix one only to find out 4 days later there was another, bloody moon, bloody midnight, and he's like, I gotta fix this, and so he fixes that, or attempts to, and then he comes back and is like, did I fix it? Yeah, you did, but in 3 days' time this happens. In a week and a half this will happen. Like, it's a lot of really key moments, it feels like, and I guess I can appreciate it looking back. It feels like the inevitable. It feels like Final Destination kind of stuff, where he's trying to avoid it and he's making minor moves in order to do it, but the world wants to correct back to this. You know what I mean? Like, he altered this course so that this didn't happen, but as a result, you just pushed back the potential issue. You pushed back the potential craziness. You just sidestepped danger to face not the exact same danger, but the exact level of danger moving forward. And it was a very tense 24 episodes. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched it in 2 days, mainly because I fell ill and I had to stay home and had nothing else to do. But in those 2 days, I do not recommend binge watching this show. I do not recommend binge watching this show. I'm going to say it again. I do not recommend binge watching this show because if you are like me and you have, I would say, excessive empathy, like I can't watch a cringy movie because I'm starting to relate to the characters. I'm like, oh no, please stop. No, I feel the embarrassment for them in it's to a certain levels and whatnot, but nobody was here. And I had nothing else to focus on, so I was enveloped in the show, which is a result of good writing and good animation and stuff like that. So, I mean, kudos to them for that. But I was watching this, and every, in my mind, cringeworthy, like, why aren't you doing this moment? It was a lot of them in 24 episodes. It was a huge chunk. And like I was talking to my wife before you and I were talking here, it felt like it was a solid 12 episodes. And then the second act, the second half was just crisis aversion into a black hole.
Okay. I would recommend binging it just so that way you could watch it all the way through. I didn't have a problem binging it at all, in all honesty. It wasn't that bad of a watch for me either. Wasn't a great watch. I didn't like the main character. While I do defend some of his actions, his viewpoints, and how he does things, I don't hold particularly the same sentiments simply because I know quite a wide variety of people in a variety of circumstances and situations and everything like that. So I don't hold the same particular sentiments as you with attitudes and mentality, right? But I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't use the exact phrasing, but I get like exactly where you're coming from, right? What the main character, what I didn't like about him was because he is whiny all the time. Like I get it, like I understand, but at the exact same time, you know who he, art style, look, attitude, how he reminded me, who he reminded me of. I'm gonna let you stew on that. Art style's a little bit similar when he's an adult, right? Cries a lot, really whiny.
My Hero?
No. Where you're just like, I wish I would love to just punch the guy.
Boruto?
No. Boruto would be like an improvement over this homeboy.
Sadly,
I would watch. No, not him.
No, don't say the cursed words.
Not him. Not this guy. I'm saying Rent a Girlfriend MC.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Like, if given a choice between Boruto or that main character, I'd take Boruto, man. I mean, like, I'm just saying, at least Boruto can fight. All right.
Yeah. Well, the weird part is he can too. Whenever it suits himself. Whenever he's like intimidates the guy, whoever his opponent is, he absolutely wrecks.
No, I'm not talking about Takemichi, right? I'm talking about the Rent a Girlfriend guy. He can't.
Oh.
All right. He can't.
Yeah.
So Takemichi is an improvement over that guy, right? The attitude's a little bit the same. The mentality is still a little bit there, right? They're both whiny. Okay. They both cry a lot, right? However, when the going gets tough, Takemichi just like, he's like, I gotta do this. Like, he may not like it. He may hate it to his very core. But when it really counts, he steps up versus the other guy. I mean, not so much. But anyway, I mean, like, and it's not 100% of the time, right? It's not 100% of the time. Takemichi just like, sometimes he has to get pushed or shoved to take that stand, to be that kind of guy or individual, right? But again, you know, it goes with that character development, it goes with that character growth, because he's like crying, he's got no self-worth or anything like that, and then he sees what's going on and he's like, I can't relive these events. I can't let these events happen again. And he just like, I have to take a stand. And he's like, I don't want to, but I got to. And I mean, like, sometimes it's like, yeah, I understand, bro. I don't want to take a stand either, but you know what? You gots to. And he does. Right. But he also has that mentality too from the future, right? of those
Mhm.
changes happening, of knowing what's going to happen, or realizing what things are going to happen. So he has that extra drive. Like,
Yeah, he has the push, but
you also have to understand, I mean, like when you are battered and bruised and beaten and put down consistently, I mean, like if you spend a majority of your life being told you're absolute trash, you eventually start to believe it yourself unless someone's there to voice
absolutely,
the
yeah.
opposition of it. And
I'm
unfortunately,
not trying to say anything against that.
no, I'm saying, and unfortunately for him, he had his entire life like that, or not his entire life, but those
Yeah.
pivotal, impressionable years like that, and no one's saying the latter.
Yeah.
You start to
Well, I
believe
mean, it was
become
clearly stated that he peaked in middle school 12 years ago.
Yes.
In second year of middle school.
Yep.
And
then you saw what happened after he peaked.
Yeah.
I mean, like they were basically made, in their words, slaves, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to see glimpses and an understanding of what was happening for them, right? Why he eventually got made to be that.
Yeah. No, I understand it. I do. And it makes sense in the long run, in a long haul. But the thing that gets me is when he goes back in time, he assumes his old body with a very futuristic, beat down personality.
Mhm.
And we've talked about that already. And he does gain some confidence back, and he's able to succeed in seeing in recapturing a glimpse of his younger self, his peak, let's call it. And he's able to alter events to where he's utterly shocked it's happening, and he's able to get into positions that weren't unreachable before, right? And every time he comes back, he doesn't change his mentality when he hits the future. Not to be like he's cocky, he's definitely not. And when he goes back to the future, his old persona comes back for his kid self, and his kid self is acting a fool, acting it out, bringing him to that point in time. And his girl even says, "Hey, you're back, because for a little bit you just didn't care about me, and you were cold to me, and you were aloof, and you were this, you were that." And in one of the successive points in which he goes through immense hardship and comes back finally, he's like, "I don't recognize anybody here. What's going on?" And he's freaking out, and rightfully so. But to everybody else, this hardened big boss, for lack of a better way to put it, is now acting like a skittish 2-bit criminal. What's going on? He's throwing red flags everywhere until he realizes that these people that he's with right now are his old friends. And the persona that he fostered was that of a big boss, that of someone who's a big deal, not someone who rode the coattails that he ends up portraying.
Right.
In every instance.
But what you're talking about, though, is like the last episode.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
So, but it.
Yes.
It all makes sense. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is the persona he had when he started the show is the persona he carries whenever he hops back in, and it throws his cohorts, his friends, his business associates for a loop. And it's kind of odd to me. Not
quite. So it doesn't throw his business associates or his cohorts for a loop, right? Again, you're hyper focusing on the end portion of it, right? You're not focusing on the core portion of it, right? The past.
True.
Right?
But
here's again, I understand you want to hyper focus on the end. Don't.
No, that's not it.
Okay, then
it's not the end I'm trying to hyper focus on. It's the point where that is just one key point. Okay. When he jumps forward in time, he doesn't have a memory of everything that happened, like the brother does.
No, not quite. He does, right? He does. And the reason why I say that he does, right? So after he travels forward one time with Nato, okay, even Nato doesn't have a memory of everything that's happened. He goes, I specifically remember this happening, and he has to kind of refamiliarize himself with it too. One of the things that Takemichi even says when he was talking to Draken, when they were talking about the fight that happened on, I forget when, right? Okay. When they talk about it, Draken says, you were there, you saw this, and blah, 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 blah. All this happened. And then Takemichi has those memories start to flood back into him. And he goes, oh, I have all these memories of me being there, but I don't remember ever being there, even though I have the memories of me being there. I don't remember ever being a part of that.
I do remember that part, yes.
Okay, so it's not that he doesn't have the memories or Nato has the memories, right? It's that...
Are they just locked?
It's that he has to make it he has to know about the changes that have happened in that current world for him to realize that those memories are his, right? It's like you watch something on the
frustrating thing.
Right. It's like you watched something on the TV. It's not your life. However, you could remember it, right? You're remembering Tokyo Revengers and everything like that. It's like me coming up to you and be like, no, Rick, bro, you were there for all that. And then you're like, oh, snaps, that wasn't a TV show I watched, type of thing is my mentality on it. Now, the thing that reminded me a lot of this and how I feel like they could have done it better, maybe even mirrored it a little bit more in that aspect of it, was a butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher.
That's what that was going on.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen the movie.
Oh, yeah. So butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher, he goes back in time and he goes, I remember like blacking out sometimes for an X amount of time when I was younger, and he didn't have like control over when he would go back and forward or go forward. It was like only certain times. I forget the details of it, but when he would travel back and make a change and go forward, right, and how he was able to travel back is because he read a journal. He would like get massive headaches and he would like pass out or he would get a nosebleed because all these memories would start getting injected into his mind and his brain was being like imploded or not imploded, but just like surging with all this new information that he would have about everything that would happen or that has happened. Right. And
yeah,
I feel like they could have done something similar, right?
That would have made a lot more sense.
So like Takemichi goes to the past, he does all these things. He comes back to the future and then he's just like, flooded with a bunch of information. He's like, just memory dump right into him. Right. Would have been great to like have him like sit there, go through some like existential crisis or trauma or something like that with memories just like flooding into him. He starts freaking out inside the DVD store where he works or something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been great.
I feel like I'm just interjecting my own thoughts into the show. Maybe I didn't see this, but I could have sworn there was a point when he kind of went crazy where he couldn't figure out who he was, where he was, and like he was able to center himself after, I want to say, a 2 or 3, 20 or 30 second freak out. Maybe I just dreamed about it.
It was kind of like that a little bit for him in the first episode when he traveled back. He was like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's happening? It's like, what do I recognize all these people? Like, these are all my friends. And like, he was trying to figure out what was going on. And he looks in the mirror, he goes, oh my God, that was me. And he pulls out his flip phone. Oh, this takes me way back. And he notices the date and everything like that. And he notices that it was exactly 12 years prior.
Okay.
I do find it interesting though, for the time leaps, that if it's August 3rd in the past, it's August 3rd in the future for him. And it moves in the dates move in alignment with it. So if he goes back on August 3rd, he's there from August 3rd to August 10th, and then he goes back to the future on August 10th. It's August 10th in the future. So it moves completely in parallel, right? So days or nights or whatever. And again, it goes back to the suspension portion of it, right? And the only time Nato hooked him up with like an IV and everything like that, that's the only time that it ever happened like that. Or just about. I'm sure there was a couple other times. But when there were massive changes where his entire life, where he would be at that point in time, has changed, he's not in that suspended animation state. He just simply is in a new field when he regains consciousness.
Well, one of the things, so there was a book I read a long time ago, and it stated time travel in a very similar manner to what you just said. But think of time as a flowing river with an ice sheet covering it, and it's not it's an ice sheet that glides along with the time, with the waters. and you've got two holes in it. You can pop in one and pop out the other, but you pop out the one and you go back to the other. So there's two holes. You keep going back and forth. Technically, you're going forward and backward in time, but they're fixed. And because it's a ball flowing downriver, it's just a fixed distance of time, not a fixed time, if that makes any sense. And that's kind of how I saw this. I was like, it clicks. So they're stuck in, he's able to go back 12 years, but it's a fixed, the days you spend here are lost in the future, and the days you spend in the future are lost here. Like you have a very narrow window of when you can and cannot go back.
Well, I mean, like, luckily for this one, there is no narrow window. It's like whenever I wouldn't even say shakes Nato's hand. It's just like whenever he grabs his hand or touches him.
Yeah, whenever it's even if for some reason those two are very specific to each other. But why? I
don't know. That's a great question. I'm sure Nato has the exact same questions too, but it is stated that he had back then he had a fascination with the occult and supernatural.
Yeah, but
so I don't know. Could be because he did some experiments.
In the last jump, he wasn't even there.
Well, if he wasn't even there.
In the first jump.
What do you mean in the last jump he wasn't even there?
Like it wasn't, they had no communication.
When he went back to the future, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the first one, he didn't touch him to move back. He got hit, he got isekai'd essentially.
Yeah.
He thought it was a very vivid hallucinogenic last few minutes where my life is replayed at a fraction of the speed and stuff like that.
Right.
Only to find out that no, so-and-so saved him. And he's like, huh? What?
Right.
Yeah, you told me to do this and you changed the history. Now, so here's the consequences.
Yeah, I am hopeful that they go into more details about that later on. I am hopeful. Do I expect that? Not at all. But I am hopeful. I will remain hopeful. You cannot make me not be hopeful.
Hope is a funny thing.
Everyone has it. All right. I think this is a good spot for us, man. What do you think? How do you feel?
Without destroying the ending, yeah.
All right. I will say this. Ending is on a total cliffhanger. But luckily there's a season 2. So there you go. Which is what we're going to be watching next. But as far as this week's choice on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this?
If I take out the last episode, it would be like a solid 8. Nah, yeah, 8. But because of the last episode, it's getting a 4.
Okay.
And it's only because I feel so disrespected as a viewer.
Okay.
If I go further into it, it's going to
I get it.
Spoil a bunch of stuff.
I get you.
That being said, some of the positive notes, the reason I was originally going to go so high, it had a very good and clear art style. It had very clear roles in how the cause and effect stuff. I liked that. There were real consequences to their actions. I disliked how whiny the main character is and how immature he seems, especially when he's supposed to portray an older version of himself. The lack of growth in an anime that I feel should have had growth, recovery growth, and like a butterfly exposes the beauty that the chrysalis goes through. I expected an evolution that I never got, which is not good. I didn't like how the MC was more surprised than anything else whenever he would see the result of his own actions.
I'd be surprised too. I don't know about you. I would be 100% surprised. That actually worked? What? I'd be super shocked. I would be crazily shocked.
I'll say it's not shocked, it's bewilderment. That's what got me, the bewilderment.
When you come back from the past, how would you not be bewildered about what just happened and what has changed?
Well, I'm assuming in his path back, he was like, all right, I'm going to go back now. And then he gets back. Where am I? What am I doing here? What's going on?
I would be doing the exact same thing. Last thing I remember is I was seeing Nato and I shook hands with homeboy, not here in the DVD store, stocking shelves or whatever, or wherever the hell else I am. Like legit, like I would be, if because you have to think about it too, right? You have to think about it. Dude goes back in time to shake hands with Nato, comes back. He is in bed with the IV hooked up to him, goes back in time again, comes back, exact same situation, goes back in time, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Until the real major change happens, right? And then when the real major change happens, he's like, why am I in the DVD store? Why am I working right now? What's going on?
And I agree with that. And here's the thing. In the other instances, when he would have a question and he would look at something, he would get a flash of a memory and it would start to piece and make itself sense. Here it didn't happen. Why am I this? What's going on here? What's
right.
this? What's that?
Again,
Why am I
right? It's because he was going to the past and he would like remember certain things that have happened in the past, right? Or he would remember something that he had talked about Nato about in the future that he needed to remember so that way he could affect the past, right? However, the only time he ever referenced remembering anything out from the past in the future was when he had spoken to Draken and remembered the past because he was reminded of the past.
Yeah, I guess.
Like the other instances and what was going on is he didn't have flashes and memories happening because people didn't fill him in or talk to him or say you were there for it. It was always an instance of like, oh, what's going on? And he's in the past. He's like, what the hell is going on? And again, same thing. It's like he's going in the past. He doesn't know where he was exactly at that point in time 12 years ago. I don't remember what I was doing 12 years ago. I mean, like it's a pretty safe bet. I know exactly where I was, but exactly on that day, what I was doing, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
I mean, like granted, wait, how long? What was that? What month is it? I know exactly where I was 12 years ago. I was a couple of
August 2012.
No, we're in
yeah,
July.
July 2012.
Yeah. I was
I know exactly where I was. I got pictures.
Yeah.
July is a good month for me usually. So
July 29th, 2012 at the time of this recording. Who the hell? I don't know where the hell I was. I was somewhere. I know I know I was with my wife at the time. So there you go. So
I wasn't. I was with family and we were taking pictures, probably rafting. But yeah.
There you go. See? So there you go. Right? Anyways, so yeah, you're giving it a 4?
Yeah, I'm giving it a 4.
Okay.
I want to give it more, but I'm
going to give it a 7. It was good. It had solid character growth, had solid development. Animation style was a little wonky, but it was good for what it was. Not a fan of the main character in general, especially with the whininess and everything having to go with it. But when you start seeing like how he was and the life events that he had to go through for it, you can kind of understand at that point too why he is the way he is at that time. So with that growth, the development and everything like that, it was really solid. I did not like how open the ending was, which is why I'm deducting a couple of points on that. But luckily there is a season 2, so we're going to go right into that. And I didn't like that he basically wasn't told to go through or wasn't implanted in the memories for that kind of stuff, for it. Mm-hmm. So like he was left to flounder. I mean, there are some things I would have done differently myself, but
there's a lot of things I'd have done differently. Hey, this stock is going to blow up. Buy it. Hey, go buy Bitcoin for 50 cents.
When I say a couple things, I'm not going to sit there and list out every example or say, there's
the big ones.
Thousands of different things that I would have done differently. I would have done this or that. I don't need to mention it. Everyone knows what everyone would do way back when in the past. Everyone knows that there are certain things that they would want to do if they were ever given the opportunity. All right. What was the first thing that I said?
You're not going to answer it.
There you go.
But then you asked me the question you asked to ask the question.
No, I didn't say that. I said, how does it relate?
And I said to the show.
Anyways, it's 4 for you, 7 for me.
Yes.
Season 2 next week. If you feel like we got something right, something wrong, did too much justice, not enough justice or anything like that, or you want to hear the whole time travel conversation, that we just had. Unfortunately, this portion of it's actually going to be a live stream only portion of it. It's all going to go. It's all bye. Live stream only. Enjoy.
In the ether.
And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.